Fort Bragg buzzed with the usual rhythm of controlled chaos boots on gravel engines, humming voices shouting over radios. But inside the weapons maintenance bay, it was quiet, almost unnaturally so. The air smelled of gun oil, solvent, and steel. Every rack was neatly arranged, every screw accounted for. In the center of it all, hunched over a disassembled M110 DMR, sat Anna Carlisle. She wasn't in uniform. She didn't have a rank or a ribbon to her name, just a black hoodie, faded jeans, and a name patch stitched onto her contractor vest. Carlisle, a civilian armory tech. She'd been here nearly 5 years, yet most soldiers couldn't pick her out of a crowd. She moved like a shadow, swift, silent, precise. The armory was her world, and she ruled it, not with authority, but with expertise. Bolts, barrels, triggers, and optics. She treated each weapon like it mattered, like it was more than just hardware, and in her hands they were. Nobody ever asked about her past. Most didn't even say hello. She didn't mind. The silence suited her. But that day everything shifted. A convoy rolled in dust, trailing behind it, bearing one of Fort Bragg's most elite Special Forces sniper teams. Fresh off deployment, lean and weathered, they walked like wolves in uniform. They were here to log their weapons back into the system, recalibrate for training, and maybe, just maybe, show off a little. Among them was Staff Sergeant Colerig, broad-shouldered, with a hawk-like stare and an attitude sharpened by years, downrange. He was the type who commanded rooms without speaking. When he entered the armory, the soldiers parted without needing to be told. He dropped a worn Pelican case on the table and unlatched it with a clunk. Inside lay a Barrett M107A1 50 caliber sniper rifle, scarred, reliable, deadly. "Needs a complete teardown," he said without looking at her. Anna glanced up, briefly nodded, and pulled the rifle toward her with practiced ease. She didn't smile, didn't ask questions. Her fingers went to work, bolt assembly first, then upper receiver. The rifle came apart in seconds like she was folding laundry. Rig leaned on the counter watching. "You clean it like you've done this 1,000 times. "I have," she said without breaking stride. "You ever fire one of these?" Anna paused, not long, just a breath. "No, why not?" "I'm not in uniform." He gave a short laugh like he didn't believe her. "That's got nothing to do with it. You ever wanted to?" She shrugged. "I don't waste ammo." Rig tilted his head, studying her more closely now. "You talk like someone who's held a scope before." Still, she said nothing. The rest of the team had begun unpacking their gear at another bench, bantering, joking, swapping stories about the last op in Helmand. But Rig remained intrigued by the woman who could strip a sniper rifle blindfolded and still act like none of it mattered. "Tell you what," he said, tapping the barrel with his knuckle. "We're running live drills tomorrow, long range. You show up, we'll give you a turn." Anna tightened the bolt with a torque wrench and glanced up. "What distance?" "Max setting on the range," Rig said. 300 meters. Someone nearby whistled. Another muttered, "No one hits that clean. Not even Rig." Rig turned his head slowly toward the voice, then looked back at her. "You game." Anna returned her attention to the firing pin. It clicked into place like a puzzle piece. She set the bolt aside, gently wiped her hands with a clean rag, then looked at him. Really looked. "You setting that challenge for me or for yourself?" Rig raised an eyebrow. She stood, wiped her hands again, and slid the M107A1 across the table toward him, fully cleaned, reassembled, and ready for war. "I'll be there," she said. "Just don't expect a warm-up round." Rig laughed again, but this time it wasn't mocking. It was surprised, maybe even impressed. "All right, Ghost," he said. "Let's see what you've got." She turned away, already heading back toward her workbench, where a row of rifles waited for her touch. But this time, every head in the room turned slightly in her direction, not for long, just enough to mark the shift. The ghost in the armory wasn't invisible anymore. The wind carried a restless hum over Fort Bragg's southern perimeter. Tall grass rippled like waves under a bruised dawn sky, but Anna Carlyle stood perfectly still beside the perimeter fence of Range 37. Her hoodie zipped halfway, hands buried in her pockets. Her boots crunched softly against the gravel as she took one slow step forward. Her eyes weren't on the concrete or the control tower. They were fixed on the faint outline of the steel target barely visible at the edge of human sight for 300 meters. Most people had never seen that distance, let alone tried to shoot it. Behind her, the Special Forces team rolled up in 2 Humvees, dusty and relaxed, like they'd done this 100 times. Their laughter spilled into the morning air as they unloaded their gear. Riggs stepped out last, chewing a protein bar and scanning the range until he saw her. "You're early," he called out, approaching with the slow confidence of a man who knew every inch of this ground. "I never left," she replied without looking at him. Riggs stopped a few feet away, studying her face for signs of nerves. He found none, just calm. "You're actually serious about taking the shot?" Anna turned to face him. "Weren't you?" He smirked and shook his head. "You've got no wind data, no spotter, no experience with the 408 CHATAC. This isn't Montana." The word hit her chest like a quiet knock. Montana. That memory always waited beneath the surface. When she was 10, her grandfather, an old Marine sniper from Korea, taught her the value of stillness. They used soda cans lined up along the ridge, tiny black dots against pale hills. One windy October, he set up a watermelon at the far end of a dry canyon and told her to wait for the breeze to die. She calculated the crosswind like he showed her, breathed once, and pulled the trigger. The rind split clean. "You waited like a hunter," he had said, "not like a soldier. That's rarer." But Anna never joined the service. Her mom fell sick the year she turned 18, and someone had to keep the house running. She took a factory job, then a tech position, and eventually landed at Fort Bragg, an armory job no one wanted working with tools no one else respected. She buried those canyon lessons like old bones until now. "I've read the CHATAC manual 5 times, Anna said plainly, "and I've seen the target." "You can't see that far without magnification," Riggs said. "I can see what matters." Riggs didn't press her. Instead, he walked back to his gear and began assembling the rifle, the CHATAC M200 Intervention, built for extreme ranges, custom-tuned for today's shot. He handed her the ballistic chart and a wind meter, then sat back and watched. Anna studied the data, tracing her finger across the trajectory curves, noting the mill adjustments. She adjusted the scope's elevation turret precisely, then checked the windage. No wasted motion, no second guesses. "You sure you want to go first?" he asked, not going to wait for applause. She lay prone on the shooting mat, rested her cheek against the stock, and looked through the scope. The target shimmered slightly in the morning haze, distorted by atmospheric heat rising from the dry grass. It looked like a mirage, but Anna didn't blink. She took 3 long breaths, then paused halfway through the 4th. Her finger found the trigger. She made no announcement, no countdown, and then she fired. The recoil shoved the rifle back into her shoulder, clean and violent. The sound cracked across the field like a thunderclap. Then silence. The spotter beside Riggs scanned the target zone with his high-powered lens. The others leaned forward, waiting. The seconds stretched, then a ping, faint, distant, sharp, like someone had rung a bell on the far side of the world. "Impact confirmed," the spotter whispered. "Center mass." No one spoke for several seconds. Then one of the younger operators let out a low whistle. Another laughed under his breath and said, "No way." Anna stood without saying a word. She stepped back, removed her gloves, and brushed a leaf from her sleeve. Riggs stared at her. "You calculated spin drift?" "Yes." "Accounted for barrel harmonics?" "Yes." "Coriolis effect?" Anna nodded. "And the sun's direction?" He blinked, then laughed in disbelief. "That shot was textbook. That shot was impossible." "It was math," she said, "and patience." The silence returned as she walked past them all, heading for the edge of the range, like she'd just finished a coffee break. It wasn't arrogance. It was something else, like she'd just crossed something off a list and didn't need to linger. Rig watched her go, stunned. He turned to the others. "Did anyone film that?" "No cameras were rolling," someone replied. "We thought she was just checking the gear." "She wasn't checking," Rig said quietly. "She was proving." One by one, the operators began packing up in silence. No one joked now. No one mocked. And though they wouldn't say it out loud, each of them understood something had changed. They witnessed a ghost come to life and hit a target most of them had never even attempted. Word of Anna Carlisle's impossible shot spread across Fort Bragg like a wildfire without fuel restrictions. It jumped from barracks to mess halls, from training grounds to command offices. Everyone had a version. Some said she hit the steel blindfolded. Others claimed she was a retired Olympian, or a secret CIA ghost, or some freak civilian raised by wolves in sniper country. Nobody had footage. Nobody had proof. But they all had one name: Ghost. Anna tried to ignore it. She returned to the armory, the same way she always had, before sunrise, hair tied back, coffee in hand, toolbox clinking at her side. But things had changed. People paused when she walked by. They didn't speak. They just moved out of her way. Inside, her tools hadn't moved an inch, but someone had left a note folded on her workstation. It read, "If it wasn't luck, prove it again." Below, a GPS coordinate was scribbled just outside Fort Bragg, an unofficial range. She folded the paper without expression and slid it into her back pocket. That evening, under a sky painted in burnt orange and dusty blue, Anna stood at the edge of an open field. Tall grass swayed under a soft breeze, whispering secrets to the wind. The makeshift range had been set up with K-bar military guards. No regulations, just a steel target bolted to a rocky hilltop, 300 meters away, a wind flag flapping beside it, and one table set up with a rifle that wasn't regulation issue. The Chaytak M200 was already there, polished and prepped, with a fresh suppressor and a data card clipped to the bipod. Riggs stood nearby, arms crossed, looking like he hadn't blinked in a full minute. "You came," he said. Anna nodded once. "Isn't this a restricted test zone?" "It's borrowed for the evening, officially not even close." He walked toward the shooting bench and placed a folded towel under the stock. His demeanor had changed, less arrogant, more deliberate, like he knew she wasn't a tourist now. "You know what they're saying?" he asked. "That I got lucky." "They're wrong. But luck's the easiest answer when people don't understand what they've seen." Anna approached the rifle and checked the bolt action smooth clean. She adjusted the cheek rest, sighted through the scope, and began running numbers aloud. 31 mil elevation, 5 clicks windage left, spin drift 3 inches right, mild tailwind adjust 0. Rig let out a breath, not from surprise but respect. "You've done your homework," he said. "I wrote the page." The target shimmered again, distant and unreal. This time, she wouldn't fire from prone. She rested on a bench, giving herself a slightly higher angle over the tree line. The humidity hung low, but visibility remained decent. No mirage yet. a good shooting window. She settled behind the rifle like it was her own hands. Calm movements minimal. "Who taught you?" Rig asked. "My grandfather, Korean war vet, made me hit flies at 500 yards before I could drive." Rig chuckled. "That'll do it." Everything else, she said, was just study and memory. A long pause filled the space between them. "You going to spot me or just hover?" He stepped back and grabbed the spotting scope. "I'll confirm the hit." "No coaching." She nodded. "That's fair." Anna closed her eyes for a moment, centering herself. The air around them stilled. No birds chirped, no distant traffic hummed, just her, the rifle, and the truth. She opened her eyes, slowed her breathing, and squeezed the trigger. The recoil was immediate, powerful, sharp. Silence. Time stretched again. The bullet was traveling more than 2 miles, arcing high above the ground, dropping more than 300 feet by the time it reached the steel. Then impact. The sound rang out like a tuning fork, struck by lightning, a perfect tone. Rig dropped the spotting scope slightly, his mouth open. "Dead center," he said. "I can see the mark from here." Anna stood slowly brushing grass from her sleeves. "Twice isn't luck." "No." Rig said, "It's history." He walked over and handed her a water bottle, then turned back to stare across the field. No one has ever done that twice, without a team, a full weather station, and weeks of setup. You just showed up and did it again. Anna looked out at the target. The wind had picked up slightly now. They'll still say it wasn't real. They'll want proof. "I don't care," she said, and she meant it. She didn't shoot to impress anyone. She didn't shoot to prove anything. She shot because someone finally gave her the range she'd been waiting for. Rig rubbed the back of his neck. "There's a sniper class cycling through next week, intermediate to advanced. I'm going to submit a waiver request for you." Anna looked at him. "A waiver for what?" "To audit the course. They don't allow civilians." "They will now," he said. "They've never met you." Anna didn't smile, but something behind her eyes flickered like an ember catching wind. "I'm not here to wear a badge," she said. Rig nodded. "That's why you deserve one." He began packing up the gear. The sun dipped, lower shadows stretching across the range. The steel target stood far in the distance, faintly shining with 2 clean impact marks. Anna didn't look back as she walked away, but for the second time, she left behind a team of trained shooters standing in stunned silence. The ghost had returned, and this time she was just getting started. By Monday morning, Anna Carlisle stood outside the Special Warfare Training Group HQ, her contractor badge clipped to her chest. Civilian credentials cleared, but questioned. The waiver had gone through barely. Rig had pulled every string he could reach. Still, no civilian had ever been allowed to observe, let alone participate in sniper qualification exercises at this level, not until now. The instructors watched her like a wild card, half expecting her to fold under pressure or vanish into irrelevance. But Anna didn't flinch. She carried no backpack, no weapon case, just a pocket notebook, a wind meter, and a graphite pencil worn to the nub. She didn't ask questions. She took notes. Around her, 11 seasoned soldiers, most already marksmen, were unpacking their gear, adjusting scopes, syncing with spotters, and preparing for a full week of tactical hell. The range days ahead would be long wind calls, shadow movement, unstable platform shooting, urban concealment, blind fire. Some of them doubted each other, but none doubted themselves. Anna, on the other hand, was the anomaly. "Ghost showed up," someone muttered from behind a scope. Rig, now on the instructor rotation, stepped out of the range tower and glanced over the field. His eyes found Anna instantly. Targets are set from 600 to 200 meters. No warm-ups, no second shots. Spotters can assist, but missed calls are penalized. He paused, then addressed the elephant in the field. Yes, you all heard the rumors. One of you is a civilian. That's true. No, she doesn't have rank, but she's already done something most of you haven't. She hit 4 to 300 meters twice. Murmurs, swelled heads turned. She's here under observation status only. That means she's not eligible for qualification, but every score she logs will be real. You want to ignore her, fine. But if you're smart, you'll pay attention. Anna didn't react. She just adjusted her watch, calculated wind speed, and tracked the sun's arc in the sky with silent precision. The first live fire drill began. Shooters had 15 seconds to identify range and eliminate 3 targets at staggered distances from cover, a chaos test of speed control and intention. The first 2 shooters missed once each. The third fumbled a reload. The fourth timed out entirely. Anna stepped forward next. She dropped into a low crouch behind a half wall of sandbags, unfolded a compact tripod, and clicked her scope into place. Her left hand rotated the windage dial. Her right tapped notes into the logbook. 12 seconds later, 3 pings echoed from the steel. The range officer looked stunned. Clean run. She stood, dusted her knees, and nodded toward the next shooter. The team fell silent. The instructor noted her time. She returned to the end of the line. That day, she placed second overall, no misses, no retakes. She didn't brag, didn't linger near rig, or ask how she did. Instead, she sat alone under a shade tarp, sipping from a dented thermos and sketching out ballistic arcs in her notebook. By day 2, some of the others started asking her questions. What do you use for mirage drift compensation? How do you stabilize between breathing cycles? Why the pencil? She answered each one brief but helpful, never condescending, just focused. The doubt around her began to shift. Quiet nods replaced mockery. Respect replaced skepticism. During the afternoon concealment course, Anna found a foxhole none of them had seen before. She shot from under it through brush and gravel, tagging a 950-meter silhouette in under 9 seconds. Even the spotter blinked in disbelief. She's not a tourist, the instructor said quietly. She's trained somewhere. Rig overheard it and nodded. Later, during the debrief, he pulled her aside. You've got something they don't, he said. Low expectations, she replied dryly. No, stillness. Most shooters panic once they commit. You don't. You just freeze the world. Anna looked at him for a long moment, as if weighing whether or not to speak. Finally, she said, It's not the trigger that matters. It's the space between breaths. That night, while the others slept in bunks, Anna stayed behind in the classroom, recalculating environmental drift patterns from a desert simulation test. Rig came in holding 2 cans of cheap black coffee. I put your name in for week 2, he said. You said I wasn't eligible. I lied. She took the coffee but didn't drink. You know they won't let me certify. Probably not, but that's not why you're here. She raised an eyebrow. Then why? He stepped back toward the door, paused and said, Because I've trained 47 snipers, and not one of them could do what you did, and because they all thought you were just cleaning rifles. He left her alone. Anna sat with her coffee eyes locked on a hand-drawn diagram of bullet trajectory. The others were aiming for graduation. She was aiming for something different. Not a badge, not a record, just the truth. The blind fire test was designed to break confidence. It was the 5th day of sniper qualification, and the sun hadn't yet cleared the treetops over Fort Bragg's hidden training compound. Mist clung low to the earth, the morning still soaked in silence. Targets were positioned across a wide field. No markings, no glint tape, no sound. Each shooter would lie prone behind a blackout tarp, exposed only to their weapon, and an opening in the fabric no larger than a dinner plate. No spotters, no electronic aids, no feedback, just shooter scope and gut instinct. Most failed. Even seasoned marksmen struggled when denied information. Human error increased. Nerves crept in. Doubt made them second-guess wind shifts or target distance. In this phase, there were no perfect runs until Anna stepped forward. She wore the same black hoodie sleeves pushed up to her elbows. Her gloves were clipped neatly to her belt. In one hand, she carried a battered range notebook. In the other, a customized .308 bolt-action rifle with a handmade stock and lightweight bipod. It wasn't regulation, but Rig had cleared it. It was hers. She didn't talk to the instructors or the candidates standing beside the perimeter fence. She didn't ask questions. She simply knelt, examined the dirt beneath the tarp, and adjusted the tripod legs by half an inch. Then she lay flat, tucked her body low, and disappeared behind the scope. 5 minutes passed. Nothing. The range command didn't rush her. The rules were simple. 10 minutes, make your decisions, fire when ready. At the 9-minute mark, she squeezed the trigger once. The echo cracked across the field. 30 seconds later, another shot. Then silence. Spotters confirmed 2 targets, both hits estimated range just under 200 meters. Holy hell, one of the candidates whispered. She's got the range memorized. Another muttered, like she's reading it from the air. Even the lead instructor, a former Delta sniper with 20 years of field experience, nodded with quiet respect. He wrote a single word on his clipboard: textbook. Anna emerged from the tarp, brushing dirt from her sleeves. She didn't smile. She simply walked her rifle back to the case and sat on the edge of a cinder block while the others tried to recalibrate their expectations. Her performance wasn't loud, wasn't flashy, but it shifted the atmosphere. By lunchtime, nobody looked at her like a civilian anymore. They looked at her like a benchmark. One of the younger snipers, Private Maddox, approached her cautiously. "Hey, mind if I ask how you called your dope without the wind?" Anna looked up. There was wind. "Yeah, but how did you—" She pointed at the tree line. "Look at the top leaves, not the branches. The lower leaves lie. The tops don't." Maddox stared, then blinked. "I never noticed." "You will," she said, and turned back to her notes. By the end of day 5, she ranked first in accuracy, not among the observers, among everyone. That night, the instructors huddled in a back room debriefing. "She shouldn't be here," one said. "She's not military. We can't certify her. She's out shooting half the class." Another replied, "If we deny her credit, we look political." "She doesn't even want the certificate," Rig added. "She's not here for recognition." "Then why is she here?" Rig didn't answer right away. After a moment, he said, "Because she spent her life being underestimated. Now she's showing the rest of us what we missed." Later, as the base lights dimmed and the candidates prepped gear for day 6, Anna sat alone under the stars, jotting numbers into her logbook with slow, deliberate strokes. Rig approached and dropped a sealed envelope beside her. "What's this?" she asked without looking up. "Unofficial notice. You just set a record in blind fire under blackout conditions. Fastest dual hit time ever logged in this course." "I'm not part of the course." "Doesn't mean it didn't happen." She picked up the envelope, ran her thumb over the seal, then set it down without opening it. "I don't need paper to tell me I saw the shot land," she said. Rig crouched beside her, elbows on his knees. "Anna, what are you really doing here?" She looked at him. "I clean rifles, Sergeant. Every day I see weapons come back from places I'll never be. I see dirt from mountains I'll never climb, blood on metal, from battles I'll never know. And every time I reassemble those rifles, I wonder if the person who used it knew what they were holding." Rig listened silent. She continued, "I don't want a badge. I don't need people to clap. I just want the rifles I clean to know someone out there still respects what they're made for." Rig exhaled. "You're the first person I've met who talks about guns like they're alive." "They are," she said quietly. "Every shot is a memory." A long pause passed between them. Finally, he stood. "Tomorrow's course is urban concealment. No one's ever aced it." Anna smiled faintly for the first time all week. "Then it's due." The course began without formal announcements, just a quiet radio ping sent to all participants. "Begin Phase 6. This wasn't about shooting anymore. This was urban concealment, tracking patience and invisibility. The candidates had 6 hours to enter a simulated village constructed inside a vast training grid. Their mission: infiltrate without being seen, reach the rooftop target, and place a dummy round inside a marked crate without detection. Most wore urban camo lightweight gear and night-adaptable goggles. They moved like predators, crawling through sewers, hiding in stairwells, waiting behind dumpsters. Spotters watched from towers, scanning for heat motion and reflection. Anna walked in alone 10 minutes after the others. No vest, no comms, just her rifle slung low and wrapped in a matte gray shroud that blended perfectly into concrete. Rig, watching through an overhead drone feed, said nothing at first. The instructors beside him didn't even notice her enter the zone. "Wait," one said, tapping the screen. "Did she just go through the dry cleaner's basement?" "She's not on infrared," another muttered. "She's masking somehow." By hour 2, 4 candidates were disqualified. Their helmets got caught on security cams. Their footsteps were detected by vibration sensors. Anna hadn't triggered a single alert. At hour 3, she hadn't been spotted once. At hour 4, the instructors were scanning the rooftops. She was nowhere. At 4:37 p.m., a single crate camera inside the target building glitched. When the feed returned, there was a dummy round sitting inside, tagged with a slip of paper that read, "You weren't watching the pipes." Rig chuckled under his breath. "Check the water access tunnel under Building B," he told the tech. Sure enough, thermal picked up faint residual body heat in the drainage line, a route nobody else had attempted. It ran under the street directly to the base of the target building undetected. She used runoff temperatures to cancel her own heat signature. One instructor said, "That's not in the manual." "It is now," another replied. The rest of the course continued like clockwork. Candidate after candidate attempted their approach. Only 2 others reached the target crate. Neither managed to avoid detection. Only Anna completed it clean, no trace, no signal, no record, aside from the message left behind. That night after debrief, most of the team gathered around the mess hall table, plates half-eaten, adrenaline still simmering. "How the hell did she do that?" one sniper whispered. "She's not a person," Maddox muttered. "She's software." Rig walked in carrying 2 cups of black coffee. One he placed in front of Anna, who sat alone near the exit doors. "No gear?" he asked. She looked up. "Too heavy. I moved better without it." "You think like water," Rig said. "Slip into the cracks, make everything else adjust around you." She nodded. "You ever see a stream cut through rock? It's not force, it's time." He sipped his coffee, and patience. Anna gave a slight smile. "Exactly." "Tomorrow's the final test," Rig said. "You'll have 1 shot. Winds, bad weather says rain. You'll be shooting across elevation up through tree cover in a live fire environment." "I know," she said. "That's the part I came for." "What makes you think you're ready?" She didn't blink. "Because the shot's already real. I just haven't fired it yet." Rig leaned back in his chair. "You sound like you've made peace with it." "I have," she said. "I've practiced that shot in my head every night since I was 16. Nobody ever gave me the rifle, but I never needed the trigger to know it belonged to me." The room went quiet around them. Other candidates stopped talking. Some had begun to recognize that she wasn't competing. She was teaching them something without saying a word. As the storm clouds rolled in outside the training camp, buzzed with quiet anticipation. Tomorrow, Anna Carlisle would face the hardest shot of the course, not for a medal, not for praise, but because someone had dared her to find her limit, and that was something she hadn't yet seen. The final test wasn't marked by a whistle or radio command. Instead, just after sunrise, Rig posted a hand-drawn map on the barracks bulletin board. One red dot, one arrow, one word beneath it: send. Every candidate knew what that meant. The final test was the shot, no excuses, no reshoots, no second chances. Anna was already awake, tightening the strap on her scope. Rain pattered lightly outside. Mist crawled along the distant tree line. The target had been placed far beyond any ordinary test range, 4,300 meters across two valleys, through thin mountain air. They called it the Ghost Line. Most seasoned snipers, trained years before even attempting that kind of shot. Some claimed it couldn't be done without wind-calibrated systems, digital stabilization, and advanced optics. Even then, few dared. Anna had none of those tools. Just her rebuilt rifle, a borrowed jacket, and her wind charts drawn by hand. "Elevation 6 to 12 feet, she whispered to herself. Temperature 41 degrees. Wind at surface level 5 knots west-southwest. Upper wind variable. She'd memorized the whole environment the night before, every branch sway, every stone marker. She could picture the arc in her mind before she ever touched the rifle. Rig stood beside the instructors on the overlook tower. They wouldn't give feedback, wouldn't confirm when the shot landed. That was the nature of the test. Either the round would find the target, or it wouldn't. No applause, just fact. Anna took a deep breath and lay prone beneath the camouflaged tarp she'd spread the night before. It blended with the rocks perfectly. Her rifle nestled into its bipod, like it belonged there, silenced. Then a low voice crackled on her earpiece. Riggs. "You can back out now, Carlisle." Nobody would question it. Hell, even the Navy guy who made this shot once said it took him 5 years to prep. Her finger hovered above the trigger. "I don't need 5 years," she whispered. "I've already lived this one." She adjusted her cheek weld, breathed out slowly, and began counting. Wind angle dropped. Every factor ran through her like instinct. She wasn't guessing. She wasn't reacting. She was listening to the earth, to the sky, to every invisible pressure around her. She didn't blink, didn't flinch. She just fired. The echo traveled slow, like it was caught in a dream. No one said a word. On the overlook tower, Rig watched the distant hill through a digital scope. The instructors held their breath. One checked the high-speed sensor logs. Another stared at a feed from a drone circling over the far ridge. 31 seconds later, a red flag dropped from the target post, hit dead center. The silence broke not with shouting, but with disbelief. "What?" one instructor stammered. "That wasn't just a hit," another whispered. "That was a clean hit, direct strike on a moving steel silhouette." She factored in the bounce. Said Rig. "That target shifts half a degree with the wind." She accounted for a change that most computers ignore. "She's not human. She's better." The drone's camera zoomed in. There at the base of the target lay the round embedded perfectly. Back at the ridge, Anna exhaled once and sat up. She didn't smile. She didn't even look at the overlook tower. She just took out her notebook, circled a small sketch of the valley, and wrote one word beneath it, proof. As she stood, thunder rolled in the distance. The rain picked up. She pulled the tarp over her rifle and began walking down the slope, each step deliberate, as if she'd just finished sweeping her own floor. By the time she reached the bottom, several candidates were waiting. One approached. It was Maddox, the young private, who once laughed when she picked up a sniper rifle on day one. "I thought I knew what shooting was," he said. "I was wrong." Anna looked at him calmly. "You still have time to learn. What if I never shoot like that? You're not supposed to. You're supposed to shoot like you. My shot isn't your shot." Behind her, two instructors approached, one holding a folded flag. "This belongs to anyone who makes a record shot on this course," the taller one said. "It's tradition. You get it for 24 hours. Then it's framed with your name." Anna reached out, took the flag, and nodded. "I don't want my name framed," she said quietly. "Why not?" "Because the next girl who walks in here without rank or stripes should shoot without thinking she has to prove she belongs." Riggs, standing beside the truck, heard every word. He didn't say anything, just opened the passenger door and motioned her in. The drive back to camp was silent, broken only by windshield wipers scraping away the mist. Finally, Riggs spoke. "You've done something no one else has." "No," she replied. "I just did what others thought wasn't allowed." He looked over. "You still think you're just a rifle cleaner?" Anna glanced down at her hands, calloused, steady. "I think I'm someone who understands rifles better than most people understand themselves." Riggs smiled. "Then let's find out what else you can teach us." By morning, the entire camp buzzed. Anna's shot had made it to HQ within hours. The footage from the drone's slow-motion replay wind charts impact telemetry was already circulating among top military brass. Emails with subject lines like "Civilian pulls impossible hit" and "Unknown asset at Fort Bragg" spread faster than wildfire. But Anna didn't read a single one. She sat in the corner of the empty armory polishing the rifle she had borrowed, each movement calm-focused. The weapon had done its part. It deserved respect. A black SUV arrived at the camp gate. 4 uniformed officers stepped out, 2 from Special Operations Command, 1 from the Department of Defense, and a woman from DARPA. They weren't here for a tour. Riggs met them at the range office. "You're here about Carlisle," he said flatly. "Is she real?" the DARPA rep asked. Riggs raised a brow. "You think I hired a hologram?" They didn't laugh. "She's not enlisted," one officer said. "No record of sniper training, no service time, yet she pulled a confirmed 300-meter hit. That's nearly 500 meters farther than any shot on this course in its history." "She's not a product of your system," Riggs said. "That's why she's better." They paused. The woman from DARPA leaned forward. "We want to offer her a classified role, quiet remote testing long-range weapons R&D. We can pay her triple civilian rate." "She's not going to take it," Riggs said. "How do you know?" "Because you're trying to own something she gave freely." Meanwhile, Anna walked across the courtyard, head uncovered, boots damp from the lingering storm. A dozen trainees paused as she passed, but she didn't acknowledge the attention. She wasn't walking like a legend, just a cleaner heading to the next task. At noon, a bell rang, signaling graduation. All candidates were to line up for final debrief and recognition. One by one, they received their mark pass or fail. Some were pulled aside for interviews, others sent home. No cameras, no medals, just orders. Then the commander stepped up to the platform. "We had one anomaly this cycle," he said. "One civilian, no background, walked into the most advanced sniper course in the country and rewrote its expectations." Murmurs moved through the ranks. She declined. Ranking refused permanent registration. She will not accept placement, but her record must be acknowledged. He turned to the flag folded on the podium. Anna Carlisle front and center. She stepped forward silently. The commander unfolded the flag and extended it toward her. This is for your performance. You earned it. Anna looked at the flag, then out at the others, men and women who had sweated, bled, and pushed their minds to the edge over the last 8 weeks. She didn't hesitate. She turned and walked past the line, handing the flag to Maddox, the same soldier who once mocked her. You take it, she said. He stared, stunned. Why me? Because next time you shoot, you'll remember that you held it first. The crowd didn't cheer. They stood stunned, silent. It wasn't what they expected, but something in that act rewired them. Rigg met her by the gate as she packed her duffel. You're really walking away? He asked. She nodded. This place gave me a chance. That's all I ever needed. They're offering you classified work, top-tier projects. You could help design the future of warfare. I'm not a weapon, she said. I'm a reminder. Of what? That brilliance doesn't need permission. He nodded slowly. So what happens now? Anna zipped her bag, slung it over her shoulder, and looked toward the horizon. I go back to the place they found me. I clean rifles. I listen. I watch. And the next time someone's told they can't, I'll be there. 2 weeks later, the story leaked. How a civilian outshot every ranked sniper, how she refused a career, how she left the medal behind. Military forums debated her technique. News networks scrambled to find her. TikTok and YouTube channels turned her into a ghost legend, but no one could track her. She left no digital trail, no signature, just a name whispered in training yards, taped to locker doors, carved quietly into rifle stocks. Anna hit 4th of 300. What's stopping you? Months passed. Then, one spring morning at a Midwest veterans range, a teenage girl stepped up to a battered old sniper bench. The instructor smiled. What are you doing with a .338 Lapua? That's not for beginners. She didn't answer, just adjusted the scope tucked into the stock and fired. Dead hit. From behind the counter, a woman in a ball cap and an oil-stained apron looked up, barely smiling. Told you, she murmured. The shot's already real. And just like that, a legacy had begun, not in records or ribbons, but in echoes far beyond the range. In the heart of Anna Carlisle's extraordinary journey lies a profound life lesson that resonates deeply with all of us. True potential often hides in the shadows of underestimation, and it blooms not through applause or titles, but through quiet persistence and unyielding self-belief. As a humble civilian armorer at Fort Bragg, Anna spent years meticulously cleaning rifles, her hands steeped in the stories of battles she'd never fought, her skills forged in the canyons of Montana under her grandfather's watchful eye. Yet when challenged by elite snipers, she didn't seek glory. She simply stepped into the light, hitting impossible shots at 400 meters, with mathematical precision and hunter's patience. Her story tugs at the soul, reminding us of those moments when we've felt invisible, overlooked in jobs, dreams deferred by life's hardships, or silenced by doubts from others. But Anna teaches us that brilliance doesn't require permission or a uniform. It's born from the spaces between breaths, the unseen calculations of the heart. She turned down medals, classified offers, and fame, choosing instead to inspire the next generation, like the young girl at the veterans range who fired her first perfect shot. This echoes in our own lives. How many times have we held back, fearing we don't belong? Anna's legacy urges us to embrace our hidden talents, to prove ourselves not to the world, but to the quiet voice within that whispers, the shots already real. Her refusal to be confined by expectations moves us to tears, inspiring us to rise above limitations and craft our own echoes of excellence. What about you? Have you ever felt underestimated, only to surprise everyone, including yourself? Share your stories in the comments below. I'd love to hear how Anna's tale has touched your heart. If this emotional journey inspired you, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Let's explore more life-changing stories together.